First off, I'd like to start off with a little prayer before we get going. Heavenly Father, we thank you for bringing us together today, and we ask that you send great positive energy out to everyone who is listening to us and to our families and to our friends. And we ask that you bless this message that we are going to give today on mental health. And we pray that you give us the wisdom, inspiration, and knowledge that's appropriate for the listening audience. We ask that you carry your message to everyone who needs to hear it and bless it and empower it to be able to heal those that are going through emotional issues today. Thank you for all you've done for us. And we ask these things in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Sweet. All right. So today, mental health talk. There's a lot
Mhm.
of that, a lot of mental health issues going on out there of all different kinds. We have stress related issues, we have reality related issues, we have, oh man, pain related issues, spiritual related issues that are all affecting our mental health. So, this talk today is going to be very helpful to someone out there because we're going to cover a lot of information in a short amount of time. We encourage you to do your own research and you take personal responsibility for your own health and well-being. And we are not here
Mhm.
to diagnose, treat, or recommend anything to anybody. We're just sharing information to you. I am not a licensed psychologist, psychiatrist, or a licensed doctor. Although I have studied mental health for 40 years, I am not certified or licensed in any of those things. And I think, I'm not sure if, oh, but I am certified as an empowerment coach. I am a certified suicide intervention skills trainer. I'm also a master resilience trainer, certified. So I have all those credentials, but I do not have a license by the state. Woohoo! Everything I do is inspired by the will of God. And Stephanie, what about you? Are you a doctor? Are you a
So I
licensed
am not a
physician?
doctor. I am not a licensed physician. I am a licensed commissioned holistic therapist through the Native American Indigenous Church and the American College of Natural Medicine. I'm a Soma Veda integrated traditional therapies professional practitioner as well as teacher. Mhm.
Awesome. See, so there we have it. So if you're going to
Mhm.
seek mental health, please seek it from a licensed professional, healthcare professional or mental health professional. And hopefully we will give you some information on places where you can look for help and maybe perhaps some things that you can do on your own. So, what do you think of that? Now, but when we talk about mental health, what do we mean by that? Any any ideas, uh, Miss Stephanie?
Uh, in terms of mental health,
Yeah,
I would
what is
say
it?
mental health is our inner dialogue. It is everything from how we sleep, how we eat, the sounds and input that we have in from those coming in around us, whether it be the TV, the music that we listen to, the social media that we scroll, but most importantly that voice that's always with us. So if
Uh-huh.
we are speaking unkind things and having these negative affirmations playing, right? Like just all this negative programming going on inside that compounds with the toxicity that's coming off in so many various ways. It just attacks our mental health, whether that be all of those avenues we just mentioned, like causing the stress, the outside sources, right? Like the nonstop barrage of news, that we have now. That wasn't the case when you and I were growing up, when we got the news, just a few times a day, and we got a newspaper once a day. and we didn't
True.
get things in real time as they were going down, and especially in international worldwide events. So to me, mental health is truly like encompassing everything that goes on inside, because we cannot separate, in my holistic beliefs, the body, the mind, and the spirit. We are all as one.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
exactly. And when you were talking about the inner voices that we have, I was thinking, wait a minute, those things are okay? I Wow.
Yeah. They're
But
okay.
but we all have an inner monologue
Mm-hmm.
that we listen to. I mean, if you sit
Mm-hmm.
there silently, and if anybody's ever tried to meditate, you know that there's this inner monologue that keeps going. It never stops. It just keeps going. And the words that it keeps repeating over and over and over again, those are indications
Mm-hmm.
of things that you need to deal with. Hmm. Like, I'm not good enough. You know, when you're trying
Mm-hmm.
to expand or do something new, it says, "No, I'm not good enough to do that." That inner voice that says that. But
Mm-hmm.
if we dive into it a little deeper, we'll find that that has its roots in a event that occurred earlier in your life. Perhaps you were
Mm-hmm.
sick or injured or going through something and fell, or maybe you were playing football and you got knocked down, and somebody comes up to you and says, "Ha, you're not good enough." That can stick with you
Mm-hmm.
forever. Well, not forever, because there's ways to get rid of it besides
Yes.
electric shock treatment.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I also think that oftentimes, particularly in today's culture, at least here in the West, is that people feel the obligation to say yes. And like, yes to being asked to do something, yes to make more time, yes because oh, that person needs or wants me, whatever the situation might be, like to say yes.
Hmm.
And oftentimes what we need to say is not at this time, or just flat out no,
Correct.
because no is a sentence. And
Yeah,
it's okay to say no. Mm-hmm.
yeah. And
Mm-hmm.
the stress that that creates, if you're
Mm-hmm.
saying yes to everything, that's another
Mm-hmm.
thing that you have to do. And then you get
Yes.
the stress of overwhelm because
Mm-hmm.
you're doing everything. And
Right.
if you're one of those level 4 energy people who like to do
Mm-hmm.
things for others, it'll be difficult
Mm-hmm.
for you to say no. It'll be difficult for you
Yes.
to do that.
Yes.
And we often find that people that are in that healthcare, I want to help others profession, that they do get overworked and they do get
Mm-hmm.
overstressed. And the people in management take advantage of their kindness
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
literally work them to death.
Mm-hmm.
I want to try not to use the word literally all the time, but that can happen. You know, that's why
Yes.
suicide is really high with doctors and nurses, firefighters
Mm-hmm.
and police officers. You know, it's just the
Mm-hmm.
overwhelm that they have in their lives. So how
Yes.
do we
That
uh,
constant call to be a hero. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
correct,
Mm-hmm.
correct.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the ways that you can deal with those things is learning to say, no, I'm sorry. That's somebody else's. You can pass that on to somebody else, but I really, honestly, don't have the time or the resources to do that right now.
Mm-hmm.
And be willing to walk away. Sorry,
Mm-hmm.
can't do it. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not gonna do that.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
true
And
story.
sometimes it's okay too just to say no because you don't want to, right? Like you're
True.
uh not interested or don't want to, or no, I don't like. I think part of the mental health, particularly with the barrage and the nonstop, like with the social media, and the nonstop media period, like through all the different varieties, is that how many likes do you have, how many followers do you have, how many clicks, how many views, are you an influencer, or who are you being influenced by? And so again, like that saying yes, like yes, I will wear the it clothes, the trendy clothes, or yes, I will drink my drink out of this kind of cup because this is the hip new gift that's on the must have gift list this year, just whatever it might be. And then to say, you know
Guilty.
what? No, like I'm good, and not need that validation from someone else that you're cool or that you're smart or that,
Hmm.
the clothes that you wear aren't cool enough or good enough.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And when you think about that, when you're following, keeping up with the Joneses, I think that's what you're kind of getting at here. Hey, I got to
Mm-hmm.
buy these shoes because that guy over there is really cool and I want to be like that guy over there, really cool. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to buy shoes just like him, right? When we start to do things like that, we're really not being authentic to ourselves because we're not being ourselves. We're wanting to be like someone else. And that comes
Mm-hmm.
back to you. And we have some inner work to do here is because
Mm-hmm.
you don't feel worthy to be yourself. You don't like yourself the way you are, so you want to transform yourself into someone else. You see,
Yeah.
and that,
Sometimes too, I think it's part of, yeah. I sometimes too think it's part of the consumerism is that it's that these outside ways are ways to validate like the uniqueness and the creativity. So if I'm not ordering off of any of the disposable clothing sites, I mean, these are like so insanely inexpensive and fall apart after just a couple washes.
Mhm.
Not even to think about like what the environmental and social impact is on the country that it came from, but these things, right? Like, so it's just like the hot new thing. But what I observe uh, is that it's that pull that they're being taught. Like a lot of people are being taught that this way of keeping up with the consumerism is a mode of expressing their own identity and is part of their mental health. So it's being like wrapped up in this bow that, hey, yes, change your clothes every season. Like, oh yes, change all these things like every season, and here you go.
Uh-huh.
With these clothing items, right? Or the bedding or the towels, like is because, oh, don't these things like bring you joy? There's a whole like mindset out there of sparking joy, right? So like, oh, if it doesn't bring you joy, like get rid of it. Well, I don't know about you, but like I love my family unconditionally, but I don't always have like sparked joy. But I'm not gonna like dispose of them because I don't have a joyful day, or
Yeah.
like there's a gloom in it. So just the whole idea of like replacing everything to find that self-worth, right?
Hmm.
Without all of that. So it's just an uncomfortable conversation for many to have because it's how they've been programmed to
Correct.
to associate within the life at this time. Really see that with the young kids. Mm-hmm.
Right. And that the happiness and joy is out
Mm-hmm.
there.
Yes.
You see, it's not
Mm-hmm.
found within, but
Mm-hmm.
that's where it is. The joy is inside,
Mm-hmm.
and you expand it
Mm-hmm.
out into your universe. And
Mm-hmm.
all of us are guilty of that. Oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I gotta have. If I had this car, I
Mm-hmm.
remember growing up as a kid. Oh man, if I had that car, I'd be so happy. It'd be the most wonderful
Mm-hmm.
thing. Oh, if I had that girl over there, it'd be the most wonderful
Mm-hmm.
thing. And then Garth Brooks writes a song, "Unanswered Prayers."
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, for me too is even my name. Like if I only was named this, like I wanted to be Sheila so bad when I was a little girl.
Uh-huh.
So if I could only have been named Sheila, wouldn't my life be so great?
Yeah.
Because look at what Sheila's have.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah, and we have that
yeah,
mindset. Well, I'll be happy
yeah,
when this
yeah,
happens. I'll be happy
yeah,
when I move out of this house. I'll be happy
yeah.
when I have this new
Hmm.
relationship. I'll be happy
Hmm.
when I have this new car. I'll be happy
Yeah.
when I'm out of school. I'll be happy when, uh-uh.
So,
Develop it now,
Reverend Dr. Kim,
man.
are you saying that gratitude increases and encourages mental health?
I think you might have something there. You know,
Ah,
which
yay.
is a great segue to what I wanted to talk about next is
Mhm,
the master resilience training that I took
mhm,
in the Army. The master
mhm,
resilience training. It was developed by the Research Transition Office of Walter Reed Army Medical Center, the Institute of Research. I'm reading the disclaimer here. And the University of Pennsylvania as part of the Master Resilience Trainer Sustainment course. Many parts of the training was developed by Karen Ravech, Reivich, PhD, and I got to meet her. She's a very wonderful, very intelligent person. Had a great time going through the training. It was really cool. But the best part about it, the thing that I liked most, was the hunt
Mhm.
for the good stuff. It
Mhm.
was an exercise that you could do every day, and then throughout your day, you could just sit there and
Mhm.
say, you know what, what, what good thing happened to me today?
Yes.
And you write
Mhm.
down these three things, these three great things that happened to you today, and then you say, what does this good thing mean to you? You say, okay, well, this
Mhm.
good thing happened to me today, and what it meant was that my spouse really cared for me. The good thing that
Mhm.
happened was first thing in the morning, she came up and she gave me a great big hug and kiss and said, good morning. And I'm like, you know, that was really good.
Mhm.
I liked that, you know?
Yes.
And then
I
you go through your
loved.
day and you
Yeah.
start, yeah. And then it's like, oh, my cat came up to me today and wanted me to give it some food. And I gave it some food and it started purring, and the stimulus response that I got from that was just so joyful. I just had,
Yes.
my
Didn't
heart
even
just
try to
pitter
bite
pattered.
me. Yeah.
Exactly. So the
Yeah.
hunt for the good stuff and just what you said and showing gratitude for those things.
Mhm.
Just saying thank you, spouse. Thank you so much, wife
Yes.
or husband or whatever, cat,
Yes.
everything that shows you love and
Sometimes,
appreciation. Thank you so much. It's so wonderful.
yes.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, you froze.
So for some of the therapeutics that are, that I offer, and that I have been privileged to learn in various trainings, also incorporate um, writing down an experience truthfully as the person remembers it, and sometimes like an experience that maybe didn't happen just the way you planned it to happen, like when you
Hmm.
idealize something, whether it's a bride, or groom on their wedding, or a mother and father with a child being born, right? Someone going to purchase their first home, like heaven knows there's can be all kinds of things come up with inspections and closing, right? So whatever it might be in a journey that's a big life moment that maybe didn't go off like as perfectly planned, right? And idealized, and writing like truthfully like the experience in that way,
Hmm.
and taking that and then taking a moment to rewrite it with a outlook of gratitude,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
because what change, like what is the outcome, like how can I flip that script and make it into how can I find gratitude in that moment,
Hmm.
and that can be very challenging, but if a person does choose to take that route, being self accountable and move through that, like it can be truly profound, and that's I find like for some like that it takes like a surge, like that, like a big shift to be able
Hmm.
to feel the power of gratitude, because it's like, oh yes, and it's even the small things, like I find myself like, oh, I have to get up, I have to go to work, or I have to go teach this class, and it's like, as soon as I hear that word, I get to I get to go to work and do something that I love. I
Yes.
get to go to this place and be with these super cool people who have some like-minded interest, or I get to go interact with these people who have no idea what it is I do in this world, and see if it resonates with them, and maybe they like it and they want to know some more. So whatever it is, like flipping that script in the day to day, like I get to instead of I have to. Like
Correct.
how blessed is that? Like, oh, I have to clean my house today. How blessed am I that thank you, I have a home today.
Uh-huh.
Thank you, I have the tools to clean my house today. I have the knowledge to know I need a clean house. Not everybody knows about hygiene, so
Correct. Yeah. And I'm
yeah.
glad that I'm able to clean my house today.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That
Yes, amen.
I have the time and the resources and the
Yes,
strength to be able to
yes,
do that. I have
yes,
the
to reach
ability to do that. Yes, I have the hands and feet.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Hmm.
Yeah, see, and it's the words that we use that kind of
Hmm.
it gives an indication on the way that we view the world. Like you said,
Hmm.
oh man, I have to go to work today. And even when you say that, you can feel it in your body. Oh man, I have to go to work.
Oh, yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
oh man, I have this big old huge weight on me and I just have to carry it,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah.
But
Feel
when you
that
turn it
lead.
around and look at it the other way,
Hmm.
and say, "Hey, look at this, man. This is
Hmm.
great." You know what I get to do today?
Hmm.
I get to build a cathedral.
Yes.
There's a really, really great story. Have you heard that story?
No,
There were these two
but I
masons.
get to have a podcast with Reverend Dr. Ken, so I'm so excited about, grateful
Yeah.
for that. Hmm.
So there were these two masons that were working on building a cathedral, right? Doing with their hands and tools, old timey. I mean, these guys were good. They did it with a hammer and they had a rock, and they would take the hammer and they would form that rock exactly the way it's supposed to be in order for them to lay it. You know, they were doing it with. That's how skilled these guys were, right? Well, perhaps only one of them. And the stranger comes along and says, "Hey, what are you guys doing?" And one says up, he comes up and he says, "Oh God, man, we have to make this cathedral, and we're out here in the hot sun, sweating like dogs, and dogs don't sweat, but sweating like crazy, and we're here from dusk to dawn, and it's just really, really hard work, and it's I have to do this, and it's just really, really tough." And then a guy goes, "Oh, okay." Walks down a little further, and there's another mason sitting there, and he's doing the same thing, right? The guy says, "Hey, so what are you doing today?" And he says, "Oh, man, I'm creating a cathedral. I get to build this thing with my own
Hmm.
hands. I mean, I'm out
Yeah.
here in the hot
Hmm.
sun every single day, sweating. I'm getting really good shape. I'm getting buff. I'm doing all this, and I'm just loving this because at the end, I'm gonna be part of building a cathedral. It's gonna be huge. People are gonna see this for the rest of their lives. You know, they're both doing the same thing, but they have a different attitude towards the work that they're doing. It's like, yeah, see, same thing, different attitude, and we can change that anytime we want. See, we don't have to stick in the place where it's like, oh man, this is so hard. I know doing a
Hmm.
podcast every week is just so annoying. I have to come out here and turn all this. I have to do all the editing. I have to do all the talking. I have to do all the scripting. I have to do all the. Or it's like, you know what I get to do today? I get to write a script for the
Hmm.
podcast today. Oh, yeah, I get to do
Hmm.
some recording and get to put it out there online, and people are going to see it and view it, and before long, I'll be trending. Famous. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man. People will know me. I won't be an individual anymore.
Hmm.
I won't be able to hide.
Yeah.
No, but it's all the attitude that you take when you do these things and when you're
Hmm.
involved with this stuff. And if you feel yourself starting to get down, you can just flip the script, just like you said. Start
Hmm.
viewing it differently. It's really, really
Hmm.
wonderful. What are some tools that you use when you're going along and you're feeling like, oh man, or maybe you're upset about something. Things aren't going exactly the way that you want them to go, and you're getting
Hmm.
disrupted and you're getting frustrated, and all these things are happening, and it's like, what are some tools that you use to help you get back on track, or maybe change the current emotional state that you're in to something a
Hmm.
little more positive?
So, what has been most effective for me um, in helping to flip that script um, is taking a moment and taking some of the words from Gary Craig and the emotional freedom technique, and Somaveda bio EFT tapping. Like, even though I have XYZ going on, I completely love and accept myself just as I am here today. And it has been my personal and professional experience that many people have a incredibly difficult time saying the words that they love themselves,
Correct.
you
I
know, and
deeply
especially that they love
and
themselves
completely,
unconditionally
yeah,
and completely. Yeah,
deeply
just as
and
they are today.
completely accept myself. Those words right
Yeah.
there are so powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Those words
Yeah.
right there have been really awesome triggers to send us
Mm-hmm.
down the road to what is really at the core of a person's mental health.
Mm-hmm.
And because, when you say that, when you say, even though I'm
Mm-hmm.
going through this issue right now, even though I'm angry right now, I deeply and completely
Mm-hmm.
accept myself. When you say those words, your mind
Mm-hmm.
takes a trip back in time. Takes back in
Yeah.
time to a time where, you know, I feel guilty about something that happened in the past, or I feel
Mm-hmm.
upset about something that happened in the past. I feel,
Mm-hmm.
all of these things that occurred to me in the past, and now they're affecting me today,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't feel
Right.
worthy.
Yeah.
I don't feel worthy to feel good right now. See, and when we take it
Mm-hmm.
and we dive down into that rabbit hole, we find that it was an emotional, a really deep emotional traumatic event that they went through, either physical or emotional, that they went through. And when we
Mm-hmm.
identify that and tap through that, we find that the anxiety today leaves. It goes away, which is really really cool. That's the wonderful thing
Mm-hmm.
about the tapping and the bio EFT, uh,
Mm-hmm.
or bio tapping that we do at Soma Veda. It's just
Yeah.
really 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 powerful. It's a really really good tool, and you can do it anytime,
Yeah.
anywhere. You can do it in your car. You can do it at work. You can do it
Mm-hmm.
anywhere. Just take a
Mm-hmm.
moment, take a few moments, and just tap these
Mm-hmm.
areas. And if you want more information on that, you can go to Stephanie's website, and she can hook you up with that. And
Mm-hmm.
your website is the Soma Veda Wellness
Soma
Center,
Veda Wellness dot center. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
SomaVedaWellness.center. Sweet
Yes, sir. Thank
center,
you. Mm.
yeah, not
And
center like the center, but the
you
center of
know,
the place.
yeah, CENTER.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And today so much of that dialogue that we hear, we whether we are consciously aware of it or not, the programming that is going on around us all of the time. So if we just like autopilot put something on, the TV, or auto just let the reels, on the social media flow, just like hitting the random shuffle, like,
Hmm.
scrolling through, see what comes up today on the algorithm for you. And just, without consciousness, without intention, just taking it in.
Hmm.
Um, or if it's a conscious effort and choosing something that's maybe not so positive and so healthy, and consuming it and consuming it and consuming it. So as a yoga teacher, like when I teach the group classes, right, like group yoga therapy classes, I believe it and truly do that it starts with inviting the idea. When our creator, when Heavenly Father decided to, create the earth and man and woman, right? So it started with an idea, and then it took shape, and each day followed through with new ideas. It all starts with an idea.
Right.
So, like taking that idea that I have power over my thoughts, that I don't have to let this just run nonstop like a ticker tape on Wall Street. Like I have some power to slow it down, and I have some power and authority over my own thoughts. You know,
Yeah.
um, but more and more, I see in people how challenging that is for them, because of the conditioning and because of that's so prevalent in our current society.
Hmm. Yeah.
Mm.
I think you
And
hinted
the
on a little
food the
bit.
food is not
Oh, sorry. Go
Yeah.
ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah. No, the food is not helping with the mental health, nor are many of the topical products that we use, the laundry detergents, the household cleaners, the body washes, the body lotion, lotions, even
Hmm.
OTCs that say like the advertisement says they're for one thing. If you read the asterisks and the white sheet inside will actually say that it doesn't do any of those things that it said it does on the outside of the box. And it just blows my
Yeah.
mind, you know, because some
Yeah.
of these products are recommended by professional medical doctors to
Hmm.
treat the cases that are advertised on the outside of the box. But as soon as you pull that white sheet out, and boy, there's that asterisk, and here you follow it on that white sheet, and it does none of those things that it says it does. So it's
Yeah.
frustrating, and I see how people can sometimes find um, depression when they start this like new old school approach, right? Like these ancient healing for modern times, like we're discussing right now, Reverend Dr. Ken,
Mhm.
where they feel this like, oh my gosh, like how could it be that we could be so maltreated by industry, by governments, by all these powers that oversee what is acceptable, in terms of
Yeah.
what we're allowed to consume in all these ways, right? But still maintaining our freedom. And so finding that sweet balance that yes, there's a lot, and yes, isn't it awful that things may not have been always like with the best intentions for the public, that they may have been in turn truly for profit, you know? So
Well,
um,
yeah, of
helping
course.
helping people flip that script, because it can be like, particularly now, like as we have this change in our political structure here in the United States, as we switch our presidents, like in term, and many of the head offices, are switching in turn. Like people, it's like the snow globes. Like people's lives are being shook up. Like there's all these big changes, but no one ever said that the change was comfortable, and no one said that it was easy. A butterfly breaking out of a cocoon, that can't possibly um, be with so with ease. I mean, you have to meet with some resistance to break out. A chick, or a baby serpent in an egg, right? Like breaking out. They
Hmm.
have to be persistent, to get through to the other side. And our mental health is the same. Like we have to be persistent on flipping that script and being persistent to get ourselves out there and look at the sunshine and look at the trees and look up at the stars at night and wonder,
Hmm.
and open up to experiencing love, right? Like love for ourselves. And looking at you, of course, with your reverend, your collar on, you know, that spiritual disconnect. Many
Hmm.
people who have suffered loss, tragic loss, that we
Yeah.
as humans, you just can't explain away. I mean, like science wise, we might be able to explain like how it is that a child contracted a rare form of cancer, right? Like we might be able to track that back into science. But in terms of the family that lost that child or is struggling with that child through that battle, like where's God in this moment? Like where is God for this? And
Hmm.
helping people through that, like ministering to people, like where is that connection for me? Like all this abuse, all of this, like whatever type of abuse it was, or combination of abuses, where was God in all that? you
Hmm.
know where was God for me? And so again, but that is a script. That's something that we're telling ourselves. So when
Uh,
we flip that script, that what, yes, God was always with me. did
pr-
that did that make me, like, what have I learned from this? And not to say that it's all going to be smelling like roses, and not having any thorns on it.
yeah.
Like sometimes our lessons are painful, and I think every dogma out there talks about like being here on earth is lessons. Being here on earth is work.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And really, when you look at your past and all of those things that happened in
Mhm.
your past and the choices that
Mhm.
you made and the way that you responded to all of
Mhm.
those things that happened in your past
Mhm.
makes a
Mhm.
uh, a, a difference in the way that you turn out in your present.
Hmm.
For there's really good
Yes.
story in the Bible about Joseph. Joseph was
Hmm.
well, his brothers wanted to kill him, but they kind of didn't. So they sold him into slavery. And if you can
Hmm.
imagine the life that Joseph had, he was loved by his father and really revered by him.
Hmm.
But God had a plan for him, and
Hmm.
didn't unbeknownst to
Hmm.
him at the time, he Joseph was suffering quite a bit. He was a slave and he suffered. But then
Hmm.
things started to happen in his life and he was following the
Hmm.
word of God. He was following the impressions that he was getting from
Hmm.
God and following those things. And he ended up being the
Hmm.
chancellor over all of Egypt. Went from being a slave
Hmm.
and that and then not to make any correlations here, but when you look at the life of JD Vance, our current vice president, he
Hmm.
had a drug addicted
Hmm.
mom being raised by his grandmother in the hill.
Yeah.
He was literally a
Like so
hillbilly.
many children.
Literally a hillbilly, and now he's
Yeah.
vice president of the United States. So you got it, and all of those experiences that he had while he was growing up put him in a place where he can use all
Hmm.
of those experiences that he had when he was growing up to apply them to make the
Hmm.
United States better. And in his position, since he
Yes.
understands what it's like, he understands what it's like to be poor.
Hmm.
He understands what it's like to build a
Hmm.
business because he did those things,
To
you
feel
know?
abandoned. Yeah.
Exactly. So all of those things that
Yeah.
happened in our life in the past, even mine and
Mm.
yours, all of those things brought us
Hmm.
together to where we can be in a position to where we can help others overcome it too,
Hmm.
because we were able to.
Hmm.
See, and God put us through all of that stuff. I'm as part of the plan, as long as we kept following Christ, as long as we kept that in the back of our minds, saying, God's got a plan for this. I know because the word of God says that all things work together for good for those who love the Lord. And I love the Lord and I think he's awesome
Hmm.
and he's been really helpful. But the stuff that I'm going through right now really sucks. I don't like it at all. But,
Right.
I can rest and say, okay, this is just a short time. It's not an all-time thing. It's a part-time thing.
Yeah.
You see, if
Yes.
we can quote that mantra when we're going through stuff, say,
Hmm.
okay, yeah, this is a sometime thing, not an all-time thing.
Hmm.
It's a part-time thing. That's it.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
you
So.
ride it through, you learn your lesson. Um, but here's the catch.
Hmm.
If you run from it, if you run from the
Hmm.
lesson that you're going through right now,
Hmm.
you'll have to repeat it in the future.
Yes.
You've always have to overcome those things. You have to learn that lesson. If you fight through that and get to the other side of it to where you're
Hmm.
successful and you win,
Hmm.
good. Graduated, on to the next.
Hmm.
You see, if you run away from it though, somebody said once, problems are like ghosts. If you run away from them, they chase you. But if you run straight
Hmm.
toward them, they fade away.
Hmm.
So
Yes. Shine
anyway,
a light. Shine a light. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. So for you, in terms of other modalities, other avenues, other suggestions or perceptions of mental health.
yeah.
Mhm.
Like, could you rephrase your question? I didn't quite
So some of
understand.
the other things that you might have helped throughout the years, like with encouraging, like mental
Oh,
health or helping people to come to that place of mental health. It's such a
yeah.
key word right now, and it's something that
Mm-hmm.
uh, some people use, in my personal opinion, as a codependent and enabling thing. Like, oh, it's my mental health. Like, I'm not going my mental health, but mental health is so important, and mental health is a reason to do or not to do something.
Mm-hmm.
Mental health is a priority, um, but it's such a trendy word right now. That it's just kind of thrown all over the place, and it doesn't
Yeah.
being mentally healthy, doesn't take place or replace the accountability, that comes in and being an active participant in one's health,
Yeah.
and to be perfectly, clear, like I have, or as I am a licensed commissioned holistic therapist now, this was not always in my purview. Like, when you don't know that you have choices, you don't have any.
Yeah.
So that's exploring new ideas, exploring new avenues. Like I went the Western medical allopathic route, for years, trying to take care of myself, and found that it was not did not provide the results that I was looking for. I
Hmm.
really wholeheartedly, my whole body, mind, and spirit knew that there was something bigger and better for me
Yeah.
out there, and just proceeded to heal, and found that my mental health was so strongly connected to my relationship with God. Which wherein I have not doubted the existence of God since I was a very small child.
Hmm.
Does not mean that we've always had the best relationship, the healthiest relationship. Doesn't mean that I haven't struggled with that.
Yeah.
Um, the rage and the disappointment, the abandonment, like things like you mentioned, our Vice President J.D. Vance. Not speaking for him, I cannot speak, nor would I, to his experiences, but there are things that we can sort of like check off in the categories that we pretty well know someone's going to experience, emotionally, physically,
Yeah.
spiritually, from growing up in an environment like that. And in today's world here in the United States, we have more grandparents and great grandparents raising the children than ever before, due to mental health, like really mental unhealth,
Hmm.
drug addled parents,
Yeah.
in our society. So that disconnect, like all of the things, and
Yeah.
part of that holistic approach, and to go off a little bit, like as a birth consultant and as a birth doula, like being there at that moment of birth is such a sacred time, right?
Oh yeah.
When the child comes into this world, when it leaves the mother's womb, and enters the world, and in a Western allopathic hospital, it's can be a very mad rush to cut the cord and do all these things. And sometimes,
Mhm.
yes, there's medical urgency and necessity, but sometimes not. Sometimes it's just keeping to a tidy, neat schedule that works for everybody. And so mom can freshen up her makeup and get back to her, look, I just had a baby post, and all people come in, and then all the attention that comes from it. And, did we schedule that birth? Is it, so that everyone's schedule syncs, instead of the baby being born on the baby's and the mother's natural schedule, and that the
Mhm.
disconnects that occur with the mother, with the child, with the father, with the child, from having this sort of staged, if you will, situation. I do understand that to each their own, and there are medical necessities and reasons for this, but oftentimes here in our country, it's due to convenience for the docs, convenience for the woman, convenience for the man, convenience for the babysitter who's going to step in and take care of the kids, convenience for the employers. It's all for convenience, and not about that unborn child who's about to come out, not about that soul connection that we need, from that moment of birth. So, like, as a birth doula, and as a Christian minister, I would say so much of this mental deficiency, this connect we have to ourselves, this deficiency and disconnect that we have with spirit, this disconnect that we have within our own bodies, really comes down to even how we're brought into this world,
Mhm.
and so, again, like, not to overwhelm or to depress people, but when we don't know better, we can't do better. So, like, our knowledge is power. Our knowledge does provide choices,
Mhm.
and so even if a person, a family, like having a child born, like opts in for the epidural and the planned, everything's planned. Okay, if that works for them, thank goodness we live in a country where they have that right to choose what works for them, with a safe medical facility, and licensed and insured practitioners who are there for them, and more power to them. But by the same token, thankfully we live in a society and in a country where and people have choices, to say no. I'd like to wait until it's a medical necessity. I would like to have this experience. We have the ability to homeschool our children. We have so many things that if we don't like what's going on out there, sometimes it just takes a little internet search or a trip down to the courthouse, some elbow grease, to find out what rights are there to advocate for your own mental health, to advocate for your own physical health and spiritual health.
Hmm.
If you're in a job where they say, no, you have to work every Sunday and you want to go to church on Sunday, well, is there another time of the week with another service? Or do you need to really advocate for yourself and say, no, this is my religious right. This is my freedom that I attend church on Sunday, or maybe I have Sabbath on a Saturday, you know,
Hmm.
whatever it is. Like, I have to attend my recovery meeting every Wednesday, these
Hmm.
things, and bringing it into the workforce and having these legal rights there to support us, in this great country that we live in. Um,
Yeah.
so I think that in this terms of like mental health, like, it's so big because we exist in our shell. And so without our dialogue inside of our mind, we're vegetables, and depending on the state that you live in and what your personal belief system is, what do you do with vegetables? You know?
Hmm.
So, well, we try to stimulate brain activity, right? We try to engage, we try to bring them back.
Yeah.
So for those of you who stood by, and stuck through and participated and listened to this podcast today, thank you, and really trying to not get depressed with the outside influences and forces that might be, and being that diamond, that beautiful thing that comes out of the muck, that comes out of the pressures that were there
Hmm.
to turn you into a whole, healthy, happy person, with joy, love, compassion, and equanimity, your balanced mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Good. Thanks for sharing all that.
Yeah.
Um, when you were talking about the, the trauma that we've experienced through our lives, and when you
Mm-hmm.
look at mental health and all of that, sometimes we lose sight that everything that we do has to do with your mentality, because your everything that you do has to do with thought,
Mm-hmm.
mental, has to do with all of that. Has to do with the way that you
Yeah.
think, has to do with the emotional tone that you're
Mm-hmm.
at this particular time.
Mm-hmm.
A depressed person will respond to the world differently than an angry person will. An angry
Mm-hmm.
person will respond to the world differently than a happy person will.
Yeah.
And when we look at mental health, when we when we take a close look at it and find out really look at the emotional state that we're in at that time, that's when we can look at and evaluate, okay, well, I'm depressed right now.
Mm-hmm.
Why am I depressed?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm depressed because I've had all these losses,
Yeah.
and these losses have given me get have pushed me down to the point where I just can't deal with it anymore. So I have to take a
Mm-hmm.
break.
Yeah.
And that's what depression is for.
Mm-hmm.
It's for you to sit back and say, okay, all right, fine. This is the way that depression serves me. It allows me to take a break. And it
Mm-hmm.
also gives other people an opportunity to take care of me, and to help me work
Mm-hmm.
through this.
Mm-hmm.
What runs into issues is when you want to stay there, when you get
Mm-hmm.
stuck in depression. And a lot of people
Yeah.
are there. They
Right.
love it.
Right.
Sorry, mean no
Mm-hmm.
offense, but they like
Yeah.
being there because everybody feels sorry for them and they
Yeah.
feed on the sympathy.
Yeah. And misery loves company.
Misery loves company.
Mm-hmm.
Correct. So you associate and you gather around with people who are
Yeah.
miserable and depressed.
Yeah.
And the reason why they get stuck there is because the next stage that they have to go through is scary. The next
Yeah.
stage they have to go through is to be angry about all of those things that happened to you in the past. The
Mm-hmm.
thing that brought you down to depression is the same thing you got to get angry about so you can push through it. Be angry with those
Mhm.
people who violated you. Be angry with that situation at the bank
Mhm.
that upset you. Be angry with the person that caused you to have the accident. Be angry with the accident. Be angry. Be angry with the loss of a loved one.
Mhm.
Be angry. You have to go through that. But people are scared to go through that, and they really don't get a lot of support for that, for going through that stage from
Mhm.
society, because
Yeah.
society says being angry is bad.
Yes.
Society
Mhm.
says, no, wait, whoa, don't be angry, man. Just
Right.
calm down. Don't be so mad. Don't be so mad.
Mhm.
We hear that in our head. Don't be so mad. Don't get so angry.
Mhm.
Yeah, get angry. And you
Mhm.
need somebody to act as your advocate while you're going through that. That's where we come in.
Mhm.
See, we as your advocate and your counselors for this, we open up the space where you can be angry. I always
Yeah.
told my troops when they were going through trouble, I'd have them come into my office and I say, okay, this is a free space for you. This is a free space
Mhm.
for you. You can talk any way you want to without any fear of repercussions. You can
Mhm.
cuss at me. You can yell at me. You can say whatever you want about the command, about the world, about whatever. But you got to be angry. You got to be able to express your anger. And they're like, okay, Sergeant, here it
Yeah.
comes. And whew,
Mhm.
man,
Mhm.
you would
Yeah.
think my army soldiers were sailors.
Yeah. But it started with that
Dockworkers or
idea.
something because I mean
Yeah.
really they would go off, but it was an opportunity for them to blow off that
Mhm.
steam,
Yes.
get through that anger stage so that they could go to the other one. What's on the other
Mhm.
side of that is complete
Yeah.
cooperation and forgiveness.
Yeah.
See, forgiveness is on
Yeah.
the other side of that.
Mhm.
See, that's when you go back and say, yeah, I'm angry at you, but you know what? I forgive you because I want to
Mhm.
go on with my life. I don't want that to eat me up anymore. I
Yeah.
forgive you.
Yeah.
And then you can move on. See, that's the important thing. That's why it's so important for people who are in depressed to have in depression to be able to have that opportunity to experience anger so they can get to the other side to forgiveness.
Mhm.
See, and then
And to
that gets
have
them one
that,
step closer to God.
yeah, and have that idea that it's okay to experience the emotions.
Yeah,
Not just one,
absolutely.
not just two. There's an animated movie out there that shows like the assigns characters to the different
Love that
emotions
show.
that we experience, and each one of those are crucial for our existence as a human being here on
Hmm.
this earth. Like, we are how the heavens experience the earth and the earth experiences the heavens in this beautiful chaos inside of us. So,
Yeah,
we need them all. And like you were talking about, like that, thank you so much for speaking to the depressed, and how it's the depressed, attracts as like attracts like,
hmm,
and the things that we attract when we are in that depressed state, right? Like more people who are depressed, the sympathy algorithm, the sympathy engram that comes in. But by the same token, when we don't feel like it's okay to feel sadness at all,
right.
that they can't ever experience anxiety, can't ever experience sadness, can
Hmm.
only experience like this euphoria and that state of mania. Well, that's not real life, or
No,
you know
it's
what? I was so high up and I was so manic, and I go like to swing to such a low. So how about I just don't feel anything? How about you just give me something that's gonna just take it away, and I just exist on this plane, and I'm here, and look, but aren't I managed? And my family, you know what? My family's happier now, so I must be okay. I must be better now. Well, my job isn't at risk anymore. I must be okay. Like, is this what happiness looks like? Is this what health looks like? Because I
yeah,
just kind of go by day to day, you know.
right.
So it can be very hard, and there have certainly been times in my life where the Western allopathic system has helped me
Hmm.
through some of the darkest times, and yes, with some of the prescriptions, at a time where I did not have the tools or the resources because I didn't know these choices existed.
Right.
And where I needed help. I needed a lot of help. But I also had experienced enough uh, observation of others in my life with addictions to legal prescription medication,
Hmm.
abuse of legal prescription medication, as well as other substances, that
Yeah.
I knew that if there was a way for me to not be on it for the rest of my life, that that's what I wanted to do. So how do I go about that? What does this health look like? Or am I one of the people who has to be on this for all of my life? And if I am, hey, you know what? There's no shame in that, because even though I have to be on this medication for the rest of my life, I love and accept myself completely and unconditionally as I am here today. So not discrediting anyone out there, who's having these experiences, and is having a method outside of this holistic approach that we're talking about that works for them. Not discrediting that, but just know that there are choices that can complement, complementary tools to what you already have that's going on. So maybe someone watching this is already like at their optimal, how they feel they can be in this life, but maybe someone is just feeling managed, or still feeling that desperation of depression. Contacting Dr. Ken Lee at the Way of Energy, right? Wayofernergy.org.
Hmm.
Yeah, reaching out, because even though you're not a licensed medical doctor or a licensed psychiatrist or a licensed psychologist,
Yeah.
we are, you and I both are ministers,
Hmm.
and we do have, you in particular, several professional accreditations, multiple PhDs, multiple degrees, you know, licensed
Yeah.
clinician holistic therapist, you and I, all of these modalities out there. And for
Yeah.
those who may not know, sometimes those of us who take this route are some of the people who needed the most help. You know,
Oh,
uh,
oh yeah. That's why.
so so
That's
so coming
that's why I
to
took all
you,
these
the whole
classes.
wide world out there who might be listening to this. It has not always been easy to say those words. I love myself completely and unconditionally, just as I am here today.
Yeah.
And sometimes, even still, I struggle to say those words. And that is where the professional practitioner really helps and comes in, to
Right.
speak those words until you can believe them. Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we come in to help. If since we're running short on time right now, but
Mm-hmm.
so we'll have to go here soon. But I want to leave you with this. There's a lot of different things that you can do that can
Mm-hmm.
help you improve your mental
Mm-hmm.
wellness. We have
Mm-hmm.
lots of them. You can visit us at our websites. I'll have them
Mm-hmm.
listed here at the end of this program. But you can visit our websites there and you can learn a little bit more about what we do and all of the different
Mm-hmm.
things that we use in order to help improve your mental health and your mental well being.
Mm-hmm.
We do it through religious therapeutics and sometimes, and I like to say, even though it's ancient technology, in my experience, it's cutting edge technology. It's really the
Yes.
tip of the spear. It's really, really great, and it's really, really been effective. And
Mm-hmm.
the way that you know it's been effective is because it has been used for over 5,000 years.
Mm-hmm.
So we know that it works. And billions of people all over the planet have used this technology to help
Mm-hmm.
with their mental health and their mental well-being. Um, I've experienced it myself, and it
Mm-hmm.
works. So, um, yeah, look us up. Find out more, get more information. You can visit us at our websites. I'll have those posted here in just a second, and learn more. Stephanie, any last words?
Thank you. Yeah, go ahead and close in prayer.
Okay,
If
you
you'd like to say the prayer, or me,
no, you
just
go ahead. Yeah, you take it
yeah.
over. You do
All
good.
right.
You're a minister too.
Yes. So, Heavenly Father, we thank you today for bringing Reverend Dr. Ken and myself together for this podcast, for these open conversations with the whole wide world. And we thank those of you that tuned in for any portion or all of this podcast. We thank you for being open to the new ideas. And we ask that God's graces shine upon you, that the blessings pour upon you and that you receive them with ease and share them with grace. Be well. Amen.
Amen. Okay. Until we meet again, I wish you well.